What's going on, football fans? It's here for another rendition of Truck Thoughts with JR, as I am JR. Man, as draft season starts to ramp up, because we're getting into the postseason of college football, and our season is obviously turning out the way it's turning out, my truck thoughts today had me thinking about our own draft class. You know, thinking about, like, how are they performing so far this year? Like, how are they looking, right? Obviously, you got Kyle Pitts leading the pack with his 708 yards, leading the NFC in receiving yards for tight ends. Right now, he's leading the NFC Pro Bowl votes for tight ends, and I think he's only second to Travis Kelce as far as yards reception goes, as far as tight ends are concerned. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room with that situation. 700-something yards, and you only got one touchdown. Now, where's the problem there, right? Is it Kyle Pitts? Is it the play calling? Is it Matt Ryan? Like, starting to get reminiscent of Julio Jones, right? All the yards in the world, but no touchdowns to show for it. We spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about how he was going to be a mismatch nightmare, and it hasn't necessarily come to fruition yet. Now, there's still 4 or 5 games left. I think it's 5 games for us left on the season, so totals aren't in, but he's on pace to break 1,000 yards. You hope he gets a few more touchdowns before the season's out, just to make his rookie campaign look a little better and build some more confidence going into next year. Now, moving right along to Richie Grant. Richie Grant's he was off to a little bit of a tough start. Some fans were kind of harder on him. Definitely seems like the rookie defensive players are having a tougher time cracking the roster over the offensive players. But that just could be coaching philosophy. Dean Pease does seem like a older style coach in general. But with that being said, Richie Grant, when he's had a chance, for the most part, has looked pretty good. I think he's our, strong safety of the future. Seems to play well up at the line of scrimmage. I can't wait to see more of him. Now this leads into the offensive linemen that we took. Right now, Jalen Mayfield looks like he is definitely in and over his head. Now, it could be a simple fact that, he spent all of his collegiate career at the right tackle spot and is having a tough time transitioning to the left guard. Or he could just end up being a bust. Too soon to tell as far as rookies are concerned and rookies go, You can't judge them off of, completely judge their career off of 1 year. But needless to say, I think that Mayfield has got his work cut out for him to get back into, the whole, if you don't want your quarterback hit, draft me kind of attitude. Drew Dahlman, as of late, is starting to get some snaps. He's definitely looking better than Hennessy, but it's still not great. That's not saying much. So right now, these later round offensive linemen aren't necessarily looking great. It definitely shouldn't preclude the team from going out and signing some free agent veteran offensive linemen, which we have talked about and touched on. All right, keep on right on rocking. You got the 2 defensive linemen, A.D. Ogundeji and Taquan Graham. Graham has been decent in spots. He just hasn't been able to crack the roster yet. Ogundeji has looked like our best pass rusher, even though he's only gotten 1 sack. That long arm move is really worked out well, and you can tell that he definitely belongs. Darren Hall is looking decent enough as far as cornerbacks go, but yet again, he's not been able to really crack the roster. But this kind of leads me into a broader point when we're talking about the rookie class. We can't judge a rookie class off of 1 year. Like, it takes 2 or 3 years to really know what you got, right? We're just now seeing that Caleb McGarry probably isn't going to be our right tackle of the future. So, with the way this roster is constructed right at the moment, I really hope that going into this draft, they're not considering drafting a QB. Or if they do draft a QB, I really hope for them to truly be prepared for him to sit for 1, maybe even 2 seasons. Because right now, man, you put a QB behind this offensive line with the lack of talent that we have at wide receiver, and you're not going to be able to properly evaluate him. You're just not. Because the way this team is constructed right at this moment, I'm not 100% sure Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady could win with this team. I mean, you just look at the last few years before LaFleur started remaking the Packers. Aaron Rodgers didn't, team-wise, they weren't really having a ton of success. Last few years of Brady up there in New England looked about the same. And I ain't even started talking about Russell Wilson up there in Seattle. So, all I'm trying to say is that we need to continue to work on building this team before we really consider drafting another quarterback. You got, I think, 2, maybe 3 years left of decent ball with Ryan, especially if you get an O-line and a run game going. But, like, this year, this draft coming up ain't the draft for a QB. Not in my opinion. And not because of supposed lack of talent or supposed lack of prospects. I think, Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett, could be good quarterbacks. You got a handful of other guys who could turn out to be decent quarterbacks. But with the team constructed the way it is right now, I am not wanting to bring any young gun into this situation and have his, confidence or whatever completely and utterly shattered because getting hit all the time and not having anybody to throw to. Look at how Trevor Lawrence looks right now down in Jacksonville. Not very good. You already had Zach Wilson having to be up on IR for a little while. So, right now, the best-looking quarterback out of this past draft is Mac Jones. And it ain't got nothing to do with Mac Jones. It's got everything to do with the team that's around him. That's my truck thoughts. Is that we need to continue to build this team before we worry so much about a quarterback. Peace.